Hello everybody, Glass Half Dead here, and today I want to talk about Warhammer 40,000 Kill Team Moroch. Now, I'm going to put this down, but you are obviously seeing me unboxing for the first time Kill Team Moroch. In this overall review, I'm going to give a very brief rundown of each of the teams, the Phobos and the Blooded. I'm also going to talk about the terrain, and then I'm just going to give general impressions. If you want a more in-depth look, a full-on man reads book about the Blooded and the Phobos, I have videos coming out for those. If you're watching this, the time it comes out in about 5 minutes time. Let's get into it. First things first, you know what's coming. That's right. If you are a subscriber to my channel, I would like to give you a big double hello. Wow, so wholesome. But that is subscribers only, so don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a comment if you want a double hello in the next video. Let's get a little bit of housekeeping out of the way first as well. Do you like this funky t-shirt? It's merch I'm selling. Do you like objective markers in your kill team that make the game significantly easier to play? Those are on Etsy. And finally, do you like what I'm doing for either myself or the kill team community as a whole? I have a Patreon. It'd be awesome if you supported me. Let's talk Kill Team Moroch. First things first, is Kill Team Moroch worth buying? We know it's going to be £125. If you go and look at the GW website, there is an almost identical box for 40k, but it's just the terrain. The only thing you're missing in Kill Team Moroch are 2 walls. Everything else is still here. That's it. You're only missing 2 walls. That larger box for 40k is £135. So in GW terms, for £10, you lose 2 walls. Fine. You already have lots of terrain, let's be honest. You get an entire infiltrator team, which I think is £35, plus you get, the additional kill team exclusive upgrade sprue, and you get a traitor guard team, which is presumably going to be at least £30, if not 35. I hesitate to use the word value when it comes to GW, but in the very relativistic term of Games Workshop value, this box is insane. So let's not look at the price, let's look at the functionality. First up is the terrain. I think it's pretty good. Like, it will work. It's not the best. That huge Sky Shield landing pad, it's good it's good sometimes. It's good in certain matchups. It's good on certain boards. It's not something you want to use every game, which is fine because I suspect most people have more than just this Kill Team Moroch terrain. So as an additional thing, Moroch's good. If it's the only thing, you're going to get some very samey games because there's only so much you can do with that big Sky Shield landing pad. Now I'm going to talk about the rules after the initial impressions, so we'll discuss that in a moment. We then have the Phobos Strike team and we have the Blooded. Are these 2 good teams? Let's discuss. Marines, people love them. Yes, good, cool, excellent. Traitor Guard, Militarum Traitoris, the Blooded. Is that a good team? Yes. I think it is a genuinely good team for beginners. Let's be clear, I don't think either of these teams are going to be a top tier team that is going to crush tournaments. In fact, I think that these are 2 relatively lower powered teams. However, they're Marines, which all beginners want. It's the most popular faction for a reason. And then it's Traitor Guard. Traitor Guard, the Blooded, I believe, from my first impressions, after having played 4 games with them, are going to be a really good beginner team. They're very straightforward. They're very simple. They do one thing, and they do it acceptably. And they teach you to play the game in a very balanced manner. You don't have a weird skew of either 14 models or 6. You have a nice, even, chilled out 12. And each model does what it does pretty much on its own. I think it's a legitimately good team for beginners, just like Marines are, but in a very different way. If you want to know more about the team specifically, go and check their own videos. But long story short, if you don't want one of the teams, like I suspect a lot of people aren't going to actually want the Phobos team, then it's still probably worth buying the box and trying to sell the infiltrators on eBay or whatever. Because again, just the value for the terrain, is super high in GW standards. So okay, let's talk about how you build the 2 teams. Now when it comes to the infiltrators, you can build every single specialist, not a problem. However, there are reavers in this team, and of course you don't actually get any reavers in the box. But I would also say you don't need the reavers. They don't have a specialist character, they just have a generic warrior and a generic leader. They don't do anything particularly special. You might want a single Reaver, but if you're at that point, just convert one of the infiltrators because you will have spare infiltrators. Or, better yet, do what I did and buy one of the character models, the Phobos Lieutenant. He's the guy jumping with a knife with a smoke grenade on his base. Very genuinely, I think one of the best models that GW has ever come out with. I absolutely love it. But then we get to the Blooded. Now the Blooded can potentially be 14 models, but they never will be. They're going to be 12 models. Cool. However, you can't build all of the possible options, but there's two things to note there. And the first thing to note there is that all of the arms can be put on any of the bodies. This means that you don't have a hard lockout. So even though the build instructions tell you to build either a Flenser or a Sharpshooter, you could just put those arms on any single model. It will fit perfectly. You don't have to do any conversion work, just works. All good. And I would double up with that to say that thematically, these are Guard. If you like Veteran Guard, you probably have already built Gunners for there, so therefore in this team you don't need to build Gunners. You could just swap them in and it all just works, you know? I'm just throwing that out there as a way to help you. You don't have to build every model, and you can't, so that's fine. And another good thing about the Traitor Guard is that thematically they're just kind of generic. Like if you collect Necromunda at all, you can probably just take from your Necromunda collection and find the correct models. You wouldn't even need to buy the Traitor Guard. Very quickly looking at both playstyles and power levels. Now I'd love to say that the Phobos are almost exclusively ranged, and they do have acceptable guns, but really, when you sit down and look at it, only the Marksman and the Veteran want to actually be long ranged. Everything else wants to be within 6 inches, either to lay a mine, throw a grenade, use their heavy bolt pistol, or use their Vox Breaker thing, or whatever it is. They're actually, as they need to be to compete, a relatively short-range team, almost like Corsairs, where you start doing your most damage at 6-inch range, which obviously is a very good thing, because in the game of Kill Team you need to score points, which means you're going to engage the enemy. And their big ability allows you to change their order. It's called Guerrilla Tactics. 1 APL, swap their order, either from engage to conceal or conceal to engage, any turn apart from the first turn. It means that you can be very sneaky while still doing a little bit of damage if you want to. Truly, the Phobos Marines have mastered the art of standing up from behind cover, shooting, and then kneeling back down. Wow, true adepts of the warrior arts. And then you have the Blooded team. They are a very straightforward team. They do one thing. They run in, they hit stuff. That's it. Now, I think the Phobos are going to be very mid-tier to low-tier. I don't think we're going to be seeing many high placements with them. Whilst the Blooded, I think we're going to be seeing like very average. Like super just right in the middle there. I think they lack a few certain skills to let them be absolutely top tier. But they're still going to do decently if you're up against a poorer player. You have the tools, the raw damage, the stats, the model count to get work done. And honestly, after Chalnath, when everybody thought that power creep was just going to be 40k style, constant upwards ramp, exponentially, I think this is actually a really good sign that, hey, your team should sit in the middle. It should have hard counters. It should have things that hit hard counters. So actually, in regards to the power level of this box, unless I'm completely misreading my first impressions, I think this is actually a solid 2 teams for the game as a game as a whole, as a concept. Once more, if you want a little bit more specifics about those 2 teams, including like a take-all-comers list, so you know what to build out of the box, go and check out their specific Man Reads Book videos that are up right now. Very quickly now, I want to touch on the rules of the terrain. The most important thing that gets added is a keyword, which is low, which just says that regardless of the actual height of this terrain, it only ever costs you 1 circle to traverse, either up or down, which means that if you're going up, it's almost like traversing over light cover. It costs you 1 circle. And if you're going down, it's still a climb, not on the traverse, so it's free to move down. Now, I actually really like the addition of this terrain keyword, and I think that it could be applied to a lot of different pieces of terrain that we are all going to have lying around in our house. To the point that, honestly, I really would have liked to have just seen all of the possible terrain trait keywords in the core book. We could have just had them all right from the core book. We didn't need them kind of doled out to us in the specific kill zone codices. It's like, could have had that all from the start. Would have made things a little bit easier. Hey guys, Glass Half Dead coming right at the end of editing the terrain section when I forgot that I hadn't mentioned everything I wanted to. You see, the Frontera Stockade has some very interesting keywords that I just completely forgot to mention. So, here they are right now, Stockade and Defendable. I'm not going to read these out to you, this isn't a rules video. Just know that I think that Stockade is very interesting and is a keyword that we could see being kind of reworded perhaps into being a more generic keyword, something that is essentially there to say, hey, this doesn't provide heavy. Even though we've given you a piece of heavy cover in the box, it's not heavy. That's not exactly what it does, you can read it right there. Just know that it's there, it could be useful. And I still just kind of wish that GW had given us just a big, nice, long list of keywords that we could apply terrain traits to. Okay, back to the video. So, yeah, I think that's kind of the end of the video. All in all, I think Team Moroch is a really solid book. I think this is going to be, and let's hope I'm not wrong when I say this, but I think this is legitimately going to be a good addition to the game. In my mind, this kind of proves that the kill team designers, it would seem, know what they're doing. They're not doing full-on 40k power creep, which is something that scares me about 40k, so I'm glad to see it's not happening here. I think the terrain in this box, and this box as a whole, is actually shockingly good value when it comes to GW type stuff. And I've been told that if you like to play 40k as well, then the terrain that we're getting in this box is decent for 40k too. And having played on it a few times, it works here as well. And that's pretty much it. So what I would like to say, if that you have made it to the end of the video, I'd like to give you a big triple hello. Wow, so wholesome. Thank you very much. Honestly, just watching the whole of a video, hitting a like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff, legitimately, genuinely helps a small channel like mine. So many thanks for that. One last reminder, I have Kill Team merch. I tried to make it as like classy as possible, so it's not just my logo emblazoned across the front. It's like, oh, that looks normal, sure. And support on the Patreon really helps me out. I also have like a Facebook, a Discord, and very strangely now a TikTok. I don't know what I'm doing there. I got a new phone, it was installed on the phone, I was like, sure, I'd do it, why not? But if you're some sort of TikTok zoomer, then go check me out there. I'm seething, no shot, cap. My money don't jiggle jiggle, it folds. But more importantly than that, I hope you've had a good day and continue to have a good day. Goodbye.